Hey all, Bruce here. We're still in Colonial Beach, Virginia. This is the backside of the campground. Uh, it's right on, well, it's a bay where the Potomac River joins the ocean, I believe, but I'm not 100% certain. But I'm going to do a little, Karen and I just went on a walk, but I wanted to extend it. Wanted to do a little bit of a power walk. I haven't been running in weeks or months. Weeks. Months. In fact, have I been running in at all in 2020? I don't remember. Sorry, I forgot my selfie stick. So this is just my arm. Doing a selfie, holding my camera in my arm. So it's going to be bouncy. Yeah, I don't think I've been running in 2020. I don't know. Maybe I did go running in the spring. I don't remember. But clearly I have not been running as much as I would like to. I know it always makes me feel better when I go running. Not that I like running. It's a miserable thing to do. Usually sweaty. It's work, up and down the stairs. Whatever. Up and down stairs, up and down hills. But I do feel better after I run or when I'm in a running cycle. So I've been looking at running shoes. I don't think I really need new running shoes, but I've been looking at some minimalist running shoes. No sole, no support. Really just a very thin slab of rubber and a shoe carcass. Xero Xero. That's the name brand of the shoe that I've been looking at. In fact, if I wasn't filming this, I might even though I'm not dressed for it, but I feel like breaking into a little bit of a sprint. Who am I kidding? I don't sprint when I'm running. I jog. But I feel like breaking into a little bit of a run here. But I won't because I'm filming. So we're in Virginia. It's September 1st. 2020. I already did a post on Facebook. So it's the 14th historical year date. I hesitate to call it an anniversary because it's not a joyful celebration of 14 years ago when Norman was killed on his motorcycle. I have so many thoughts going on in my head today about this date, about Norman. I can't even pretend to write them all down. But, I should do a journal. I should do a vlog or a blog. But anyway, it has been such a journey. And I don't even, I even hesitate to write about it or talk about it because the journey since Norman's death has been so emotional, so complete and yet incomplete. And I hesitate to talk about anything because I will leave out somebody or something that has been so incredible about these past 14 years. Karen and I have grown, so we've grown as a couple, first of all. My love for her as my godly wife has grown exponentially. Can you hear all the, what are they called? I forget. Cicadas? I don't remember what they're called. We don't hear them up in New England, but down here they're everywhere, and I guess you just get kind of used to them. Karen and my love for each other has grown exponentially. Thank you to God. Thank you to the church. Thank you to other mentors and models who we love and admire. Thank you to the church. Thank you to Grace Point. Thank you to East Point. Thank you to missions trips that have opened our eyes on trips to Guatemala and Nicaragua and Peru. So many memories on those trips that we've done over the past years, both about mission team members and about the people that we have served, that we have served alongside, that God has put in our paths, families and children who we have sponsored and been able to meet. One of the things I've led a number of mission trips and mission teams, and one of the things that I always encouraged team members or mission trip folks to do, I encourage you to do, is if it's ever a possibility, seek out a child sponsorship with an organization or a church that you maybe someday can visit. So we've been down to Peru on mission trips, and we have visited the family and children that we sponsor. There's nothing like sitting in the kitchen. And when I say kitchen, we're talking about tar paper shacks and huts and what have you, but there's nothing like sitting in the kitchen of a family, of a child that you sponsor, and feeling the love that they have for you, and the heart-wrenching, heart-breaking love that you have for them. And often we think that they have less or are less than us. It's a perverted thought, perverted mindset, but materialistically, we do have much less than them, much more than them. But when you go down and live life with them for a week or 2 weeks or 10 days or whatever the experience might be, the joy that they have, the fun, the love for Jesus that many, not all, have, but part of the purpose of the mission trip is to spread the love of Jesus. At least the ones that I've been on. I think all of the ones that I've been on have been through a church, to a church, for a church, and it's about spreading the love of Jesus. Going down and celebrating church with them, going down and doing communion with them, at which point you're remembering Jesus and what he did for you. When you realize that they have the same mindset that I do, and maybe you do as a Christian, that life on earth here is temporary, our permanent, eternal life is in heaven with God, with Jesus. And at that point, at that moment in time, although it won't be time because it's eternal, right? Time to God is nothing. But at that time, at that point in our lives, we're celebrating in heaven, dancing on the streets paved in gold. We'll all be dancing together. And whatever it is that we're wearing, whatever it is that we possess or consume, will be the same as what others have and possess and consume. We'll all be the beloved children of God and Jesus, and we'll be singing worship every day and being with God and Jesus every day. So, where was I? So yeah, on this day, 14 years ago, well, something I have to say that Karen and I have been so blessed with. There was a struggle immediately after Norman's accident. He was killed by a drunk driver. So that involved a court case. We had to sit through meetings with district attorney and go to court for a plea of the driver. And then for the disposition of the case. And we were always surrounded and accompanied by family. And I can remember, it was an awkward time. It wasn't fully understood. It was by many, but not by all, that Karen and I were not seeking retribution. We didn't have hate for the driver of the car that hit and killed Norman. I'm so grateful that we didn't have that. It would be such a heavy thing to carry around, this hatred for the person that ran down my son. We never had that, and we were not believers at the time. That's why, when I know that Jesus has been in my life. People ask me, how long have you been saved? And my answer is, I guess I need to keep this up here if I don't want to be in the dark. People ask, how long have you been saved? And my answer is, I have always been saved. I've always had, my eternity has always been in heaven with God, but I didn't know it. But once I know it, once I knew it, once I profess it, and can celebrate it, and can see that it's the reason for so many things in my life, I'm so grateful. It's also the case in, Karen and I, we traveled the same journey after Norman's death. We did not, we walked it together, almost step for step. We were in lockstep in our discovery of Jesus. I still remember when I turned officially, on paper, in my heart, turned my life over to Jesus. I asked my best friend to accompany me down to the beach, and we sat on a bench at the beach, on Norman's bench. And at the time it was at the beach. Now it's on Franklin and North Street. But we sat and I had gone. I was raised Catholic. So being Christian to me was new, and I wasn't confident about my promise from God, my salvation. See, the neighborhood I'm walking in is right off the ocean. So I thought I had to do it right. I can remember the night that we were sitting in Pastor Scott's basement. Pastor Scott and his wife Beth, and Paul and Sheila Willette, Don and Pam Scribner. Oh my goodness, who am I going to leave out? I feel so bad. I'm terrible. I don't remember. But and we were crying our eyeballs out. At least Karen and I were. I know I was. Just telling the story of Norman's death. And so this was 14 years ago, just after Norman's death, and we discovered East Point Church. Thank you, Jeff and Autumn. And we'd been invited to the pastor's home for fellowship, and we were telling the story of Norman's death, his accident, and what brought us to East Point, and a little bit about our lives before that. But I remember Pastor Scott saying, Jesus is there for you. Do you want to turn your life over to Jesus? Do you want to know what that's about? We can do that right now. I can lead you through it. And I remember I wanted to so badly. So did Karen. But I thought, no, I don't think I know how to do this. I don't think I'm not ready. I'm not going to do this right. So, and I didn't express all of that, but, and it's not like anybody there was pressing us, but we were 3/4 of the people there. I forget, there was maybe one other couple that was not yet saved, but nobody was pressing us to do anything. They just wanted to they wanted to plug Jesus into our lives. So we left there that evening, not having done anything more than tell testimonies. And they were living on the Broad Turn Road. We drove down the road, I don't know, a quarter of a mile, half a mile. First place I could pull over, I pulled over, and we just looked at each other and said, oh my goodness, what was that all about? What just happened? Because it was so powerful, and we knew that it was the beginning of something. What it was going to be is the something was going to be Jesus plugging himself into our lives. And I think it was maybe before the next weekend, Karen went out shopping with Katie, or maybe not shopping, a ride. I don't know where they went. Karen went out with Katie and asked if I wanted to go. I said, no, I'm going to stay back. I think I'm going to give Dickie a call. So I did just that. And I had gone on the internet and I searched out, I came up with, I don't know, 12 or 15 different versions of a salvation prayer. And I typed them all down. I'm a checklist kind of guy, right? Everything's got to be on a checklist. I typed them all out, copied and pasted, because I didn't want to type them. So I copied and pasted everything. And printed it out. Went down to the beach. I said, Dick, you read this and I'll recite after you. Almost like I was saying wedding vows, right? Which I guess kind of was, right? I'm introducing myself into a relationship with Jesus. And that was how I turned my life over to Jesus. And you know, by then it had already happened. I mean, Jesus was already in my life. I already knew he was my Savior. And I did that. And it was so mechanical, so totally unnecessary, but that's what I did. And I don't know, it was maybe a couple of days. And Karen and I, you know, certain things that are very personal, right? Even between husband and wife. And I did not necessarily want to, I didn't want Karen to feel any pressure for what I was going to do. And apparently she didn't want me to feel any pressure for what she was going to do. So I told her within a day or two what I had done. Let me see, I don't know if I can switch hands here or not. I'm going to have to. I think my hand's getting shaky. So within a day or two, I told her what I had done. And she said, guess what? Guess what I did? And she had gone into Norman's room, into his bedroom. And I'm not sure she laid down on her face or on her knees or what she did, but she says, I went in and prayed and turned my life over to Jesus too, in Norman's room. Wow. So we had both begun our journey. So we began our journeys apart, but together. You know, obviously respecting each other's personal space, personal relationship with Jesus. And yet from that moment on, it's been nothing but a blessing. So on a day like today, you know, the other thing that I say, anybody who I've told a story to briefly or rambling on like maybe I'm doing right now, you know, the other thing I say is that I never asked God why. You know, and people say, well, what are you going to ask God when you get to heaven? You're going to ask him about what happened to Norman or why or whatever. You know what? I won't. Because of my faith in an eternal relationship and presence with God in heaven, as it talks about in Revelation. I posted about that tonight on Facebook. You know what? It doesn't matter. I know I'm not going to have any tears. I'm not going to be mourning. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to grieve. All my questions will be answered already. Just by being there with God and singing praise and worship to him. Anyway, but I do say, I must say, there are times when I'll be sitting somewhere. I've never done it, but you know, it's like just a thought, a memory about Norman comes through my mind, and I and I'm angry. I just, not angry at anybody or any particular thing, but it's like, oh, just want to give Norman a hug, or I just want to see him or be with him, or whatever. And I want to take a baseball bat and go out in the yard or wherever and just smash the biggest tree I can find, knowing that I'm not going to knock it over. But I just want to, smash. I've yet to do it. Probably because I've never been sitting around a baseball bat. Or maybe one of these days I'll do it. So that someplace where I know I'm not going to do any damage or whatever. But I do say to myself, or to God, you didn't have to take my son. I'm not that stubborn. I don't think I've ever been that stubborn. No, I'm stubborn. I do have an ego, which I wish I didn't have. But if you'd presented yourself to me, God, I think we could have arranged this journey for me and Karen to meet Jesus and you and turn our lives over to you without you taking my son. But that's just a part of that is sarcastic, part of it is funny, part of it is, just venting. It's getting dark here. But I have to admit that sometimes I do have that feeling, like, okay. There's no doubt that I met Jesus only because Norman was taken from us. Karen and I remember it was like, I don't know, a week or two before or whatever, maybe the day before, I don't remember. But I remember Karen and I walking down, we were in Bayview, walking on the beach, walking hand in hand, and, we're not particularly well off, never have been, never will be. As far as, finances or material go or what have you, or, but whatever. We've been grateful for a long time. And, we knew we were blessed, even though we didn't talk in those terms at that point in our lives. But I remember, we're saying, wow, life is good, huh? Life is good. And I didn't know who to thank at that point. That should have been followed up with, like, thank you, Jesus, right? But back at that point, it wasn't. It was just, man, life is good, huh? This is awesome. And then within a few days, a day or two, maybe the next day, I don't even remember. I can just remember walking on the beach saying that. And then, boom, Norman is taken from us. It wasn't fun. It was difficult, We were laying in bed for nights on end after that. Just I'm looking up at the ceiling and saying, man, what do we do now? I don't understand. What does this mean? Where are we supposed to go? What are we supposed to do? And the church that we were involved in at the time, the denomination, really was of no particular comfort, didn't do anything for us. Anyway, we discovered East Point. We didn't discover it. We were invited. And away we went. It wasn't long. I probably, Karen and I were immersed in the church. We were heavily involved in volunteering and in leadership. And it was after a few years, 2, 3, 4 years, I don't know, 5 years, I don't remember, when I came to the realization that, yeah, it's true, you grieve forever over a loss like this. It comes in waves and what have you, but I knew in my heart, I knew that we were at a point where, I had this love of Jesus. And I don't mean that I love Jesus, but I mean, we had this love from Jesus. We had the love of Jesus given to us. And it got to the point where, we were traveling 18 miles every Sunday, and then on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday, for different volunteer events and meetings and what have you. And that was inconvenient, but that wasn't it. It was, what? We began to feel guilty that we were getting in our car in Saco, Maine, and driving to Portland, Maine, to go to church, to be fed, and by now, to feed others. With our involvement in ministries and volunteer work, we're also doing the feeding. And that's when we started looking locally, looking for a church in Biddeford, Saco. You know, I grew up in Old Orchard Beach. Karen grew up in Biddeford. We raised our kids in Saco, lived there for 25, 30 years. Karen worked in Saco for the city of Saco eventually. I worked for the city of Biddeford. I mean, that was our home, our neighborhood, our community. And eventually we got to the point we felt like, man, I don't feel right about getting in my car on Sunday morning, going to church in Portland, and leaving our neighbors behind. I remember, I forget the name of the sermon series, Pastor Scott. We were at the, way back in Scarborough back then. But I remember the sermon series was Cross the Street. I think it was called Cross the Street. And essentially it was, you know, love God, love your neighbor, love your neighbor. That's the command of Jesus, right? The two most important commandments. And I remember feeling like, love your neighbor. I barely knew my neighbors. I mean, really. You know, the neighbors that were on all sides of us and up and down the street from us, I barely knew them. Never mind sharing the love of Jesus with them. I hardly knew them. And that pressed on our heart more and more and more. So eventually we started double dipping and still continuing to stay at East Point and work and volunteer at East Point. But we were also seeking out a church in Biddeford or Saco. And eventually Grace Point was newly planted in the mill building, and we went to church there. Pastor Andrew was preaching, and you know, this was 5 or 6, 7 years ago now. I don't remember, but you know, he's much younger than I'm 64, and he's 30 plus years younger than I am. And imagine back then he was even younger, right? Just a real young guy preaching the word of God. But man, oh man, they had it. You know, his wife Bethany and Andrew and Clark and Amanda, and I mean, I could go on and on. Just all of the people, the families, the staff. It was awesome, and we knew that. Yeah. So if this looks familiar, this is about a 1.5 mile loop. Well, I'm on my second loop. We knew that if we were going to move back home to a church, this was going to be it. So we did. That's where we are now at Grace Point, although I've been kind of on hiatus where we've been traveling. We've traveled, I don't know, 5 out of the 8 months this year, Karen and I, since Karen retired. We've been doing a lot of traveling in the RV. But all of that, I'm 28 minutes into this video. All of that to say, if you are troubled, there is hope. If you're not troubled, there is hope. Find a church, Grace Point Church in Biddeford, East Point certainly in Greater Portland. Talk to somebody about Jesus. Call me, text me, Facebook message me. Read the Bible, get a commentary, figure out what it's saying. Start in the book of John. Read the book of John or the book of Luke and the book of Acts. Or just read the whole New Testament. Know that your Father in heaven loves you, and that all of this here on earth is temporary. This is a broken world we live in. You know, when somebody says, oh, this happened to me, or that happened to me, or this person was sick, diseased, died, divorced, separated, whatever it is, you know what? It's all temporary. If you can live with that mindset and know that your eternity, if you choose it, all you have to do is profess that Jesus died on the cross for you and turn your life over to him, and that's it. You're in. No more mourning. No more tears. No more grief. Think about it. It's an awesome way to live, even in a broken world. God bless. Love you.